My name is Liam Bowden, 32 years old, currently working as a junior project manager at Bowden Construction Group in Washington. My job isn't anything glamorous. Mostly managing small-scale construction projects, tracking progress, holding meetings with the team, and sometimes rolling up my sleeves out on the job site to make sure everything is on track. The company is a family business founded by my grandfather, and now my older brother, Cole, 36, sits in the CEO chair. He's the type who's always busy, always impeccably dressed in a suit, phone ringing nonstop, and everyone in the company looks at him with genuine respect. Me? I'm just the little brother lagging somewhere in the middle, trying hard to do a good job so I don't disappoint anyone. My life is pretty ordinary. I wake up early to take my son Mason to school, come home in the evening to my wife Lena, and spend weekends with the family. But I do have one small private indulgence every week, buying scratch-off lottery tickets. Not because I dream of getting rich or anything, it's just a way to blow off steam, a tiny game of chance in the middle of the daily grind. That day was an utterly ordinary Wednesday. During lunch break, I wandered over to the coffee shop near the office, grabbed a grilled chicken sandwich, and on a whim bought a lottery ticket. "Give me one scratch-off, $5, I said with a smile to the guy behind the counter. He handed me a ticket with a shiny golden ship on it, and I stuffed it into my jacket pocket without much thought. After eating, I went back to the office, sat down at my desk buried under a mountain of paperwork. Colleagues around me were clacking away at their keyboards, the printer humming in the corner. I sighed, reached for the ticket, and thought, it's been a while since I tried my luck. Who knows, maybe today's the day. I pulled out an old coin from my drawer and gently scratched off the thin silver coating. At first, nothing special, just a few small numbers, the kind that win you $10 or $20 at most. But then, as I scratched the middle section, my heart suddenly tightened. Letters slowly appeared. 10 million grand prize. I blinked, thinking I must be seeing things. I kept scratching and it became clearer. The grand prize, $10 million. My heart was pounding so hard it felt like it might burst out of my chest. Blood rushed to my head, my hands shaking so badly the coin nearly slipped. I gripped the edge of the desk, nails digging into the wood to steady myself. In my mind I whispered, am I dreaming? Is this ticket fake? But no, it was real. I checked again, read the instructions carefully, and everything matched. I had just won the lottery, $10 million. Enough money to completely change my life, Lena's life, and Mason's life. Emotion surged through me like a tidal wave. I wanted to scream, to jump up and down, to run into the hallway and shout, I'm rich! My life is going to change from this very moment. But I couldn't. The office was quiet, colleagues sitting just a few meters away. If anyone heard, if anyone suspected. I swallowed hard, forced myself to breathe deeply. Sweat beaded on my forehead despite the cool air conditioning. I glanced around. Sarah at the next desk was buried in her report. Mike was on the phone with the contractor. No one was paying attention. Good. I slipped the ticket into my inner jacket pocket, hands still trembling. I told myself, calm down, Liam. Don't do anything stupid. Verify it properly, claim the prize safely. But in my head, 1,000 thoughts flooded in. With this money, I could buy a new house, send Mason to a better school, even quit my job if I wanted. And Lena? Oh, Lena would be overjoyed. I pictured her face, that radiant smile, those sparkling green eyes. I imagined her throwing her arms around me, screaming with happiness. I couldn't sit still any longer. I stood up and went straight to my direct boss's office. Boss, something personal came up suddenly. Can I leave early today? I tried to keep my voice normal, but my heart was still racing. He looked at me, nodded. Leaving early? Sure, go ahead. We'll make up the meeting tomorrow. I thanked him and bolted out of the office like I was escaping. On the drive home, I was half trembling, half euphoric. Everything around me seemed surreal. Red traffic lights, blaring horns, the rush of people. I smiled to myself, imagining walking through the door. Lena, honey, I have great news. I'd say that, then hand her the ticket. She'd hug me, we'd dance around the living room, and Mason, our 5-year-old, would run in asking, What are mommy and daddy so happy about? Life would change. No more money worries, no more work stress. Just happiness. My house is in the suburbs of Washington, a modest 2-story home with a nice green front yard. I turned onto our familiar street, heart still pounding. But as I pulled into the driveway, I froze. Cole's car was parked right in front of the house, a gleaming black Mercedes S-Class. Cole, my brother. He's insanely busy in meetings from morning till night. He rarely visits my place, especially not at this hour. Mid-afternoon when he should be at the office. Why is he here right now? I wondered, a mix of surprise and confusion washing over me. Cole and I are close, but not the kind of brothers who are joined at the hip. He's the boss. I'm an employee. The work dynamic sometimes makes things a bit awkward. And with Lena, he's always teasing, calling her my favorite sister-in-law. But at this time, it was strange. I parked next to him, turned off the engine, and got out. My heart was still racing because of the ticket in my pocket, but now curiosity was added to the mix. I opened the front door. The keys jingled loudly. "You're home earlier than I expected." Lena's voice floated in from the living room, but it sounded off, a little high-pitched and rushed. I stepped inside, and the scene in front of me made me stop dead in my tracks. Cole and Lena were sitting on the couch talking. They were sitting way too close, knees touching, Cole's arm draped over the back of the couch, inches from Lena's shoulder. The moment they saw me, everything changed. Cole's eyes flashed with surprise, then he forced an awkward smile. Lena blushed bright red, jumped up, and smoothed her hair. "Liam, why are you home so early?" Cole asked, his voice noticeably higher than usual. The atmosphere instantly turned tense and awkward. They pulled apart quickly, like they'd just been caught doing something wrong. Lena avoided my eyes and hurried toward the kitchen. Cole stood up, gave me a light pat on the shoulder, but not the warm brotherly kind he usually did. "I was just in the area," he said, his voice slightly stuttering. No jokes, no asking about work or Mason like usual. Just a curt nod, and he headed straight for the door. "Anyway, I've got to get back to the office. See you later." The door slammed, and I heard the Mercedes roar to life outside. I stood there, the lottery ticket in my pocket, suddenly feeling like it weighed a ton. "Why was Cole here?" I asked Lena, trying to sound casual. She was in the kitchen with her back to me, pretending to stir something on the stove. "Oh, he just stopped by to ask me to pass something along to your parents. He said he was nearby anyway." It was nothing. Her voice was tense, slightly shaky. When she turned around, she wouldn't meet my eyes, then quickly turned away again. "I'll keep cooking. You go rest," she said with a forced smile that didn't reach her eyes. A heavy unease settled in my chest like a rock pressing down. The joy of winning the lottery just minutes ago had vanished, replaced by a gnawing suspicion. Something wasn't right. Why was Cole here at this hour? Why were they sitting so close? Why did their expressions change the moment they saw me? And Lena? She had never avoided me like this before. We've been married 7 years, and even though life hasn't always been perfect, I've always trusted her. Or have I? My gut was screaming at me. Don't tell her about the ticket. She can't know. Not yet. I nodded, went upstairs, clutching the ticket tightly in my pocket. I'm just imagining things, I told myself. But deep down, I knew something was going on. And from that moment, I decided to keep the $10 million secret to myself. My instincts have never been wrong. In the days that followed, everything seemed normal on the surface, but I could feel subtle changes, like a hairline crack in the wall of our house slowly spreading day by day. I tried to focus on work and on secretly validating the lottery ticket. I had already called the lottery office, confirmed it was real, and made a plan to claim the prize without anyone finding out. At home, however, Lena started acting strangely. She began hiding her phone more often. It no longer lay carelessly on the dining table or the sofa like before. Whenever a message came in, she'd quickly snatch it up, glance at the screen, and shove it into her pocket as if afraid I'd see. One evening, while we were watching a movie with Mason, her phone buzzed. Lena immediately stood up and went to the kitchen, saying she needed water. I heard her whispering something so quietly I couldn't make out the words. Then she came back with a stiff, forced smile. "Who was that, honey?" I asked casually, trying not to sound suspicious. "Oh, just one of the girls from my mom group," she replied, but her eyes darted away, staring at the floor instead of at me. Then there was the password thing. Lena had never locked her phone before. We'd always trusted each other, or at least I thought we had. But one morning when I absent-mindedly picked up her phone to check the time, my watch battery had died. The lock screen asked for a passcode. "You put a passcode on your phone?" I asked, half joking. She was putting on makeup in front of the mirror, paused for a split second, then laughed. "Yeah, I'm just worried Mason will mess with it. He's always grabbing the phone to watch videos." The excuse sounded reasonable, but why was she so tense? Her shoulders stiffened, and she quickly changed the subject. "You'd better take Mason to school. We're going to be late." I nodded, but doubt had already taken root. Why now? And why didn't she tell me the code? It didn't stop there. Lena suddenly started paying unusual attention to her appearance. Before, she was the casual type, ponytail, jeans, and a t-shirt for grocery runs or picking up Mason. Now, every time she left the house, she spent hours in front of the mirror, full makeup, pretty dresses, strong perfume. One afternoon, she said, "I'm going to pick Mason up," wearing a tight emerald dress, curled hair, and bright red lipstick. I was stunned. "You look amazing. Special occasion?" She gave an awkward smile. "No, I just felt like a change, that's all." But picking up our son, something that normally took 20 minutes, now took an hour, sometimes 2. When she came back, the excuse was always traffic, or I stopped by the store for a few things. I checked the shopping bags. Sometimes just a couple of small items, nowhere near enough to justify that much time. Suspicion grew, but I forced myself to stay calm. Maybe she's meeting friends, I told myself. Deep down, though, I knew it wasn't that. Late at night was when everything became clear. Lena developed a new habit of taking her phone to the living room because she couldn't sleep. "I'll just lie on the sofa for a bit, it's more comfortable," she'd say, hugging a pillow as she left the bedroom. I'd nod and try to sleep, but sleep wouldn't come. Lying alone in the dark, I heard her moving around. Through the slightly open door, I saw the blue glow of her phone screen flickering on the wall mirror. Soft whispers drifted in. "Baby, I miss you. Don't make me wait much longer." The broken sentences were enough to make my heart clench. The first time I thought I'd misheard. The second time I quietly slipped out of bed and crept toward the door. I heard Lena giggle, then whisper, "Tomorrow, okay?" I can't take it anymore. Who was she talking to? I wanted to burst in and demand answers, but my feet felt nailed to the floor. Fear of the truth. Fear that everything I believed in was collapsing. All these signs piled up, making it increasingly obvious that Lena was hiding something. Even simple questions from me, "What are you doing?" or "Who are you texting?" made her flustered. She'd stammer, change the subject, or snap, "Why are you asking so many questions? I'm tired." We started having small arguments, something that had never happened before. I tried to stay calm for Mason's sake. Our innocent 5-year-old had no idea what was going on. "Why is Mommy mad at Daddy?" he asked once, noticing the tense silence at dinner. I smiled and ruffled his hair. "It's nothing, buddy. Mommy and Daddy are just talking about grown-up stuff. Nothing for you to worry about." But inside I was in agony. The lottery ticket was safely locked in a bank safe deposit box. But the joy it once brought was now completely overshadowed by this dark cloud of doubt. Work became my temporary refuge. I buried myself in projects, trying to forget. But then, one fateful afternoon, everything exploded. I had a file that needed Cole's immediate signature, an urgent progress report for a new project. My boss said, "Take it up to Cole right now." I nodded, grabbed the folder, and headed to the top floor where Cole's private, luxurious office sat behind soundproof glass doors with a panoramic view of Washington, D.C. The elevator dinged. I stepped into the empty hallway. My heart was calm. I wasn't expecting anything. But as I approached the door, I froze. From inside came muffled, intimate sounds, heavy breathing, soft moans, and a familiar giggle. Lena's giggle. Ice poured through my veins. My heart pounded wildly, my face went numb. No. Lena, why is she here? I whispered, barely believing my own ears. But the sounds continued, unmistakably intimate whispers and noises that could not be explained any other way. I pressed my ear to the door, clutching the folder so hard my knuckles went white. Those sounds, those words, turned every fear I'd had into brutal reality. My wife was in there with Cole, and it wasn't for work. I clearly heard Lena's voice, soft and trembling in that way only a husband would recognize. Then Cole's low, intimate tone. No further words were needed. I understood everything. Rage surged so violently I nearly kicked the door down and stormed in to confront the two people who had betrayed me most in this world. But just then, as things quieted inside, I heard what they said next. And those words truly destroyed me. They lay there, breathing heavily. Cole's voice low and satisfied. Just a few more weeks, baby, and you'll be completely mine. Liam, that idiot, won't suspect a thing. Lena giggled, whining playfully. You promise? I can't stand one more second with him. Cole continued. I'll promote him to project director. Then when the company goes bankrupt, I'll pin the entire massive debt on him. He'll go to prison for financial fraud. Lena laughed. Perfect. I'll divorce him the moment that happens. Then we can enjoy all the money you've siphoned from the company. It's flawless. They laughed and held each other. I stood frozen outside the door, pain flooding through me like a knife carving out my heart. Every ounce of trust, love, and respect I'd ever had collapsed in an instant, replaced by a deep, bone-cutting agony that would never heal. My wife and my brother, the two people closest to me, had betrayed me and were plotting to destroy my life completely. I backed away, legs shaking, and left the hallway without them ever knowing I was there. In the elevator, I dry heaved into a trash can. Why? Why are they doing this? I thought, tears streaming down my face. The lottery ticket was now my only weapon, but I had to stay calm. I had to act. For hours afterward, I drove aimlessly around the city, my mind in chaos. Images of them together haunted me. Cole, my older brother, the one I'd always looked up to despite the comparisons. Lena, my wife, the mother of my child. They wanted me in prison. They wanted to take everything. I pulled over by the river and screamed inside the closed car. The pain was so intense I wanted to die. But then I thought of Mason, wiped my tears, and said, no, I have to be stronger. I went home and pretended everything was normal. Lena greeted me with her fake smile. I smiled back, but inside everything had changed. That night I didn't sleep. Lying next to Lena, listening to her breathing, all I wanted was to ask, why did you betray me? But I didn't. I had to wait. I had to gather evidence. Suspicion had become undeniable truth, and the real storm was only just beginning. The next morning I showed up at the office with dark circles under my eyes, but I forced a smile. The place was as lively as ever. Phones ringing, colleagues joking around, the smell of coffee in the air. I sat down at my desk and opened my computer, but I couldn't concentrate. Everything around me felt fake. The friendly coworkers, the ongoing projects, all just a facade for Cole's dark scheme. Then around 10 a.m., Cole's secretary called. Liam, Cole wants to see you, she said cheerfully. My heart started pounding. I grabbed a pen and pretended to jot something down to calm myself, then took the elevator to the top floor. Cole's office door was slightly ajar. He was sitting behind his huge desk, perfectly suited up, hair neatly combed. Liam, come in, little bro. I've got something to tell you, he said with a big smile, waving me in. I stepped inside, closed the door, and tried to keep my voice steady. What's up, Cole? He slid a document across the desk, an official promotion letter. Congratulations. Starting today, you're project director. I've already signed it. HR will announce it this afternoon. His tone was excited, like he was doing me a huge favor. I picked up the paper and skimmed it. Liam Bowden promoted to project director, effective immediately. Exactly what I'd overheard through the door yesterday. Not a reward, a trap. I looked up and forced a smile. Thanks, Cole. I'm shocked. He clapped me on the shoulder and laughed. You deserve it, man. Do a good job. You'll be handling bigger responsibilities and larger projects now. I nodded, but everything was crystal clear in my head. This was step one. Promote me so they could pin the massive debt on me when the company went bankrupt. He thought I was too stupid to realize and would just be thrilled. When I left his office, I took the stairs to avoid running into anyone, crumpling the paper in my fist. By the time I got back to my desk, the news had already spread. Someone had leaked it fast. Sarah ran over and hugged me. Congrats, boss. Party tonight, right? Mike slapped my back. You're moving up, buddy. You owe me a beer. Everyone was laughing, clapping. Someone even brought a small cake from the break room. I smiled along and thanked them, but inside I felt completely hollow. No joy, no pride, only fear and rage. Their smiles cut like knives. They had no idea, but I did. This wasn't a step up, it was the first step toward the abyss. The sudden promotion made all my suspicions even sharper. Cole was moving fast, and I had to respond immediately. I couldn't wait any longer. I needed an ally, someone who would believe me in the middle of this storm. I thought of Grandpa Edward, probably the only person who would listen without judging. He was 78, retired after handing the company over to Dad and then Cole, but still sharp as ever. He lived alone in the old family house on the outskirts of Washington. He used to tell me when I was little, Liam, life is like a construction site. If the foundation isn't solid, the whole thing collapses. He loved me in his own quiet way, never comparing me to Cole the way my parents did. I asked to leave early, citing family business, and drove straight to his place. The highway blurred under the late afternoon sun, some old song playing on the radio, but I didn't hear a thing. I was only thinking about what I was about to tell him. When I arrived, Grandpa was sitting on the porch reading the paper, a cup of tea beside him. Liam, what brings you here at this hour? He looked surprised, stood up and hugged me. I walked inside. The familiar smell of old wood and books hit me. We sat in the living room while he made hot tea. Tell me what's going on, son, he said, his eyes piercing but kind. I took a deep breath and told him everything. The winning lottery ticket, catching Cole and Lena at the house, Lena's strange behavior, and the climax, what I overheard in Cole's office. My wife is cheating on me with Cole. They're planning to frame me with the company's debt and send me to prison. Cole's been embezzling and Lena is in on it. My voice shook. Tears rolled down my face. I told him every detail. Their exact words, the bankruptcy plan, the divorce plot. Grandpa listened without interrupting, just squeezing my hand when I cried. When I finished, he was quiet for a moment, then said calmly, Liam, my boy, I believe you. Don't cry. We'll get through this. He hugged me and patted my back like when I was a kid. Then he gave me clear, sharp advice. Stay calm. Don't do anything rash. Cole is smart, but greed blinds him. You need evidence, documents, recordings, everything. And the lottery money. Don't let them find out about it. I nodded, wiping my tears. Grandpa, I need you to claim the 10 million in your name. If Lena or Cole find out, they'll try to take it or use it against me. He agreed instantly. Done. I'll put it in my name. Tomorrow we go to the bank and get it sorted. Keeping it safe is the top priority. We made a plan on the spot. The money would go into an account under his name only, and I would only touch it when absolutely necessary. He placed a hand on my shoulder, his voice low and firm. From now on, act like you know nothing. Play along with Cole on the surface, watch closely, and wait for the perfect moment to strike back. I stayed for dinner. Grandpa grilled steaks himself and told old stories to help me calm down. For the first time in days, I felt a little lighter. Grandpa was my rock, the one person who hadn't turned away from me. I got home late. Lena asked, It's late. Where have you been? I smiled. Just visited Grandpa. She nodded, no suspicion. That night I actually slept a bit better, even though the pain was still there. The next morning everything was arranged. I took Grandpa to the lottery office. The process was discreet. The money was transferred into his account safe and sound. I don't know how to thank you, Grandpa. Without you, I would have collapsed, I said, hugging him tight. He smiled. You're my grandson. Now go. Stay strong. Back at the office, I kept a calm face, acting like I was clueless about the plot. Colleagues were still congratulating me. I smiled back, even bought everyone coffee. Cole called me in for a meeting. Liam, now that you're project director, here's a new project. Take it over. I nodded, took notes, and pretended to be excited. Yes, sir. I'll keep you fully updated. Inside, I was gearing up for battle. I started watching, tracking when Cole went to accounting, noting meeting schedules. I would gather evidence, slowly, carefully, ready to strike back at the right moment, determined not to fall into the trap. From that point on, I stepped into a deadly chess game. Every day was a move, pretend to cooperate so they wouldn't suspect while quietly collecting information. One tiny slip, an odd glance, a careless word, could bring my whole life crashing down. I woke up early, kissed Lena goodbye without looking her in the eye, and left for the office. I greeted my colleagues, laughed and joked as if nothing were wrong, but my eyes were always watching. Cole, my own brother, the traitor, was now my sole target. I had to be careful, just as Grandpa had warned. Don't rush Liam. Wait for him to make a mistake. And I waited, but not passively. After Grandpa's advice, I started moving, slowly, discreetly, avoiding every possible risk. First, I refused to sign any financial documents. With my new title as project director, Cole immediately began shoving stacks of files my way. Budget reports, contractor contracts, payment vouchers. Just sign them, little bro, it's just paperwork, he'd say in meetings, sliding the pile toward me with a smug smile. I'd pick them up, pretend to read carefully, then shake my head. Cole, I need to double-check the details. Some of the numbers don't match the project data. He'd frown for a split second, then laugh it off. Fine, better safe than sorry. Sign tomorrow. I nodded, but I knew. Signing meant death. Those documents were definitely laced with traps, fake expenses, hidden debts, so that when the company went bankrupt, every crime would land squarely on me. I stalled, claiming I had meetings, needed to verify figures, or forgot my pen. Colleagues started whispering, the new boss is stricter than Cole ever was. I just smiled. Better safe than sorry, I'm doing it to avoid mistakes. But my heart pounded every single time. One delay too many and Cole might get suspicious. I began secretly monitoring activity around the company, especially the accounting department, the place Cole kept visiting with unusual tension. The accounting office was on a middle floor behind frosted glass doors that were always locked. Cole would slip in during lunch breaks or late afternoons when everyone was busy. I'd catch glimpses of him from the elevator, face flushed, carrying a thick briefcase, glancing around like he was afraid someone was following him. One time, I pretended to photocopy documents nearby and overheard him hiss at Harold, the old chief accountant who'd been with the company since Grandpa's days. Hurry up and handle it. No mistakes. Harold just nodded, pale as a ghost. I walked away pretending I hadn't heard a thing, but my pulse was racing. Something dark was happening. Money laundering, embezzlement. Just like what I'd overheard in Cole's office. I started keeping a tiny notebook hidden in my pocket. Dates, times, Cole's movements. Little by little, the picture emerged. He was concealing massive financial losses. Cole and I had grown up together. He was always the star. I was the shadow. Afternoons playing basketball in the backyard. He won. I lost, but we were close. Or at least I thought we were. Now every memory was tainted by betrayal. Why are you doing this, Cole? I whispered into the dark. No answer. Only resolve. I had to find proof. And then the opportunity came. It was a Wednesday night, pouring rain, wind howling outside the windows. I decided to act. After hours, I stayed late at the office, pretending to finish reports. Everyone else had gone home, the corridors were dark, only the low hum of the air conditioning. I turned off my desk lamp and waited another half hour to be absolutely sure no one would return. My heart was hammering, sweat beading despite the cool air. "Calm down, Liam. You can do this," I told myself, remembering Grandpa's words. One careful step at a time. I grabbed the spare master key my new position gave me access and slipped down to the accounting floor. The hallway was deserted. The security cameras were in the corners, but I knew their schedule. After 8 p.m., only the main entrance was recorded. I stayed in the blind spots, swiped my card, and opened the door. Click. The lock opened. I slipped inside and closed it softly behind me. The accounting office was pitch black, thick with the smell of old paper. I only used my phone's flashlight, too scared to turn on the ceiling lights in case someone saw from the hallway. Harold's computer sat in the middle of the desk, screen dark. I sat down, hands trembling slightly as I powered it on. Password screen. I tried what Harold always bragged about at company parties. His desk was covered in photos of his wife, name and birth year clearly visible with little hearts. Elizabeth. I typed, "Elizabeth 1965. The desktop opened instantly. My heart nearly exploded. I quickly opened File Explorer, used the little IT knowledge I had to show hidden folders, and there they were. Pale, ghostly folder names, internal reports, offshore transfers, project adjustments. Just seeing the titles told me everything. I clicked. Irregular financial reports flooded the screen. Millions in payments to external consultants with no invoices. Fake invoices from shell contractors signed at the bottom by Cole. Wire transfers to strange accounts in the Cayman Islands and Switzerland, places famous for secret banking. I traced an entire system. Money siphoned from construction projects, routed through shell companies, then funneled back into personal accounts. Every step approved by CEO Cole Bowden, internal emails, notes, everything. This was organized money laundering and large-scale embezzlement. Dozens of files showed inflated project budgets. One bridge project had costs inflated by 30%, the excess diverted to companies secretly owned by Cole. I even found the incorporation documents hidden in layered PDFs. My heart was racing, breath coming in short gasps. Dear God, how long has he been doing this? Cold sweat ran down my spine. I forced myself to calm down, sat still in the darkness, breathing deeply. The rain outside pounded like war drums. Focus, Liam. This is major crime. Back it up. I plugged in the USB I'd prepared in advance and started copying everything. The files were huge, the progress bar crawled. Every second felt like an hour. When it finished, I dug deeper and found something even worse. Fake inspection reports, doctored budget statements, fraudulent payment vouchers, and the crown jewel, a pre-drafted bankruptcy plan titled Bowden Construction Group Bankruptcy Plan, with my name listed under Final Approval, Liam Bowden, Project Director. Everything was set up to force me to sign, making me legally responsible for every cent of embezzled money, every fake expense, every mountain of debt. Tens of millions of dollars, enough to put me away for life. A chill ran through my entire body like icy fingers around my throat. I realized how deep the conspiracy went. Cole hadn't just betrayed me. He had meticulously planned my total destruction. The end for me was close, maybe just weeks away, exactly as he'd told Lena. I erased every trace, cleared the recent files list, rehid the folders, shut the computer down exactly as I'd found it. I left the room shaking, legs weak, closing the door with barely a sound, took the stairs to avoid the elevator cameras. When I reached the parking lot, the rain was still lashing down, the ground soaked. I stood alone in the empty lot, cold wind whipping around me, clutching the USB like a grenade. I now held proof that could bring Cole down, emails, reports, transfers, enough to involve the police. And this was only the beginning of my counterattack. The next morning, the sky over Washington was still gloomy, thick gray clouds covering everything. I drove to my parents' house, the familiar two-story home in the suburbs with the front yard full of roses my mother had always tended so carefully. On the way, I rehearsed what I would say. Stay calm, speak clearly. I hoped they would listen, that they would support me. After everything I had discovered, this was the moment the family should stand together. I knocked. My mother, Elise Bowden, opened the door with her warm smile. "Liam, you're here so early. Come in, your dad's reading the paper." She hugged me, the familiar scent of her perfume wrapping around me. My father, Thomas Bowden, was sitting in the living room, coffee beside him, newspaper spread across the table. "Son, what's going on?" he asked, his voice deep and warm. We sat around the dining table while Mom made hot tea. I took a deep breath and began. I laid everything out clearly, Lena's strange behavior, hiding her phone, suddenly dressing up, the whispered late-night calls. Then the plan to frame me. I overheard Cole telling Lena he'd promote me and then dump all the company's debt on me when it goes bankrupt. He's been embezzling money, and Lena, she's having an affair with him. I told them every detail, what I'd heard in Cole's office, the exact words they said, and the evidence I'd found in accounting. "I have it all on this USB, clear proof. Cole wants to destroy my life and send me to prison." My voice shook, but I tried to stay calm. I just wanted them to understand. But the moment I mentioned Cole's name, the air changed. Dad exploded, face red with anger. "What the hell are you talking about, Liam? Cole is the pride of this family. He built that company from nothing, while you always blow little things out of proportion." I was stunned. I tried to cut in. "Dad, I'm not making this up." I heard it with my own ears. Mom interrupted, voice shrill. "Liam, stop jumping to wild conclusions. Lena is a good wife. Gentle, devoted. She would never cheat. And you're tearing this family apart with these insane ideas." She defended Lena as if she were her own daughter. I tried again. "Mom, I have proof. Let me show you the USB." But Dad slammed the table. "Enough! You're just jealous of your brother's success, aren't you? Cole is the backbone of this family, and all you do is envy him and try to drag him down so you can finally get some attention." The conversation quickly turned into a heated shouting match. I was cast as the failure son who always finds someone to blame. Dad pointed at my face. "You've been like this since you were a kid, Liam. Always jealous of Cole. He got good grades, he was a leader, and you just complained." Mom started crying. "You're so selfish, Liam. Why can't you think about the family? If Cole has problems, we handle it internally, not by you running around making wild accusations." Every word felt like a knife, not just doubting me, but insulting my dignity and every effort I'd ever made. I had worked hard, sacrificed for the company, for this family, yet in their eyes, I was still the worthless son. "Mom, Dad, I'm not jealous. My own brother and my wife are trying to destroy me," I shouted, tears streaming down my face. But they cut me off, calling me selfish, delusional. The atmosphere was suffocating. Shouts echoed through the living room that used to be filled with laughter. I couldn't take it anymore. Heartbroken, I stood up and walked out in silence. "If you're both so sure, then I'm leaving," I said, voice choking. They didn't stop me. They just watched me go with looks of disappointment. At the door, I turned back. "I hope you'll think about this again." The door slammed behind me. I drove away, tears blurring the road. The feeling of being betrayed by my own flesh and blood crushed my chest like a boulder. On the way home, memories flooded back like an old film reel. I remembered always being the less impressive son, while Cole was the golden standard my parents proudly showed off to relatives. It had always been that way. Cole's birthdays were big parties, friends invited, huge cakes. Mine? Just family dinner and simple gifts. Every holiday, Christmas, Thanksgiving, the praise was always for Cole. Cole got straight A's. Cole was such a great team captain. Cole's just naturally brilliant. I got polite small talk. "How's school, Liam? Did you make the honor roll?" Then they'd turn right back to Cole. I'd sit in the corner, forcing a smile, swallowing the lump in my throat. At home, the best of everything went to Cole. The nicest room with the garden view, the newest bike, the highest expectations. I got the leftovers. The small room, hand-me-down toys, or you'll be fine with whatever's left. Cole needs the best conditions to focus on his studies. You'll manage, Dad would say. At work it was the same. I worked twice as hard, staying late on reports out on job sites in the rain. But I was still just the little brother helping out. Cole was the pillar of the family, praised in every meeting. Our Cole is amazing, my parents bragged. And me? Liam's doing okay, but he should learn from his brother. From childhood to now, I had always watched Cole get priority, trust, protection, while I remained the shadow, never seen as a grown man in my own right. Late at night, alone in my room, I used to wonder, am I just not good enough? But after today's conversation, after my parents sided with Cole and insulted me, I finally understood. This wasn't just one moment. It was a lifetime of being treated differently. The pain wasn't only from Cole and Lena's betrayal. It was the cold truth. In my parents' eyes, I had never been the son they believed in. They chose Cole. They chose the perfect family image over justice for their youngest child. I pulled over on the side of the road and sobbed, pounding the steering wheel. Why? Why don't they believe me? But then I wiped my tears and realized I had only one choice left. Save myself. Because no one else in this family would do it for me. Grandpa was the exception, but my parents, they had chosen their side. I drove home more determined than ever. The USB was in my pocket, the evidence was ready. No one's on my side. Then I'll do it alone. I thought. The storm was coming and I would stand firm. It was a Monday morning, light rain drizzling down, the air in the office heavy as if a storm were brewing. I had barely sat down and opened my email when the internal phone rang. Cole's voice came through, cold, nothing like usual. Liam, come to my office. Now. My heart started pounding. Yes, give me a minute, I answered, keeping my voice steady. This is it. The moment to lay everything bare, I told myself, taking a deep breath. Cole's office was huge, with a wide view of the gray, rain-soaked city. He sat behind his desk, face grim, no trace of his usual smile. Sit down, Liam, he ordered. I sat, hands clenched under the table to stay calm. On the desk lay a thick stack of documents, all stamped in bold red with my name. Liam Bowden, Project Director. Cole pushed the pile toward me, no longer hiding his intent. Sign them. These are the final reports for the projects. They need approval immediately. I picked them up one by one, slowly flipping through the pages, pretending to read. My pulse raced, but I kept my expression neutral. The numbers danced before my eyes. Massive expenses for international consulting, construction items that didn't exist, transfers to offshore accounts. Everything matched the evidence I had found. None of it had anything to do with my actual work, yet my name was listed under approved by. Cole, I said calmly, these figures look strange. I've never seen these line items before. $2 million to which contractor? And why is it going to the Caymans? He flinched, a flash of surprise in his eyes, but he quickly regained his big brother CEO authority. He leaned back in his chair, irritation clear in his voice. Everything has already been handled internally. Your job is just to sign. Don't ask too many questions. I firmly set the documents down. No, I need you to explain the source of every single one. This is my responsibility, and I will not sign anything I don't understand. My calm refusal visibly rattled him. He stood up, pacing the room, voice rising. What the hell are you doing, Liam? You don't get to set conditions. I'm the CEO and your older brother. Sign the damn papers and stop making this complicated. He slammed the desk, face flushed with anger. This was the moment he lost control, and I knew the time had come. I suddenly dropped the pretense, stood up and looked him straight in the eye, voice ice cold. "You're wrong, Cole. I do have the right, and I know everything." He froze, staring at me. I laid it all out. "I know the entire plan to frame me with the debt, the money laundering transactions, the embezzlement documents you personally directed. I have proof, the hidden reports from accounting, the transfers to your shell companies. I've backed everything up." The color drained from his face as if I'd slapped him. The arrogance vanished, replaced by panic. He stepped back behind the desk, voice trembling slightly. "Liam, what are you talking about? You've got it all wrong." He sat down, trying to switch tactics, tone softening. "I would never set my own brother up. Whatever you think you saw, someone must be trying to frame me, to drive a wedge between us." He forced a weak smile, hands shaking as he reached for his water glass. "Listen, it's all a misunderstanding. Maybe someone in the company is jealous, hacked the system or something." His voice turned pleading. "Liam, don't take this too far. We're family. We grew up together, remember? Let it go. I'll fix everything. Just cooperate and it'll all be fine. I promise I'll cut you in, if there's anything to it." The bribe was barely veiled, desperation shining in his eyes. But I stood tall, calm in a way Cole had never seen from me before. No trembling, no weakness. No longer the little brother. "No. Right and wrong will be decided by the law, not by promises or cover-ups. You betrayed me. You betrayed our family. You betrayed the company Grandpa built. I will not let you send me to prison." My voice was steady, but inside emotions surged, rage, pain, and finally, relief. Cole lunged forward, trying to stop me. "Liam, wait. Let me explain." Too late. I turned and walked out, leaving behind a panicked Cole, face ashen, collapsing back into his chair. I came home earlier than usual, driving under a leaden sky with light rain falling like a bad omen. Our house in the suburbs looked peaceful as always, green lawn out front, but today everything felt heavy. I parked, turned off the engine, took a deep breath, and walked in. The smell of cooking wafted through the air. Lena was making something. But the moment I stepped inside, Lena's entire demeanor had changed. She rushed over, hugged me warmly, and spoke in the sweetest voice. "You're home. How was your day? Work tiring? I made your favorite, beef stew." I flinched and took a step back. Lena had rarely been this attentive before. Lately she'd been irritable, glued to her phone, barely asking how I was. Now suddenly she was gentle, pouring me water, fussing over me. I knew instantly. She was acting. Cole had called her, no doubt about it. "Why are you being so weird today?" I asked coldly. She smiled, brushing my hair back. "I'm just worried about you. Sit down, let me massage your shoulders." We sat in the living room while Mason played in his room. Lena skillfully steered the conversation. "Honey," Cole called me. "He's really worried. He said you misunderstood something. Please calm down. Don't let anger ruin the bond between brothers." She took my hand, eyes glistening. "Cole is your brother. We're family. Just talk it out." Hearing those words felt like a knife in the chest. Even now, after being betrayed, threatened, set up to go to prison, Lena was still on Cole's side. She wasn't worried about me getting hurt. She didn't ask, "Are you okay?" or "What's the plan?" She was only protecting Cole and their future, the embezzled money, their new life together. Disgust and fury surged inside me like fire. I yanked my hand away and stood up. "Stop it. Stop pretending. Have you no shame, still playing the perfect wife?" My voice rose, shaking with rage. Lena recoiled. "What are you talking about?" I exploded. "You think I'm an idiot? I know everything. Your affair with Cole, the two of you plotting to destroy my life. Pin the debt on me, bankrupt the company, send me to prison, then divorce me and live off the stolen money." Lena froze, stunned as if slapped. Her face went white, eyes wide, mouth open. "Liam, how did you find out?" she stammered, then suddenly dropped to her knees, clutching my legs, sobbing hysterically. "I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I was tricked. Cole forced me. I love you." She trembled, tears streaming, gripping me like she was terrified I'd disappear. I looked down at the woman I'd loved for 7 years, now on her knees begging. But it wasn't real remorse, it was fear. Fear of losing everything, fear the plan had collapsed. "Forgive you?" I said bitterly. "You think I'm that generous?" I shoved her hands off and stepped back. "You and he planned it all perfectly. Well, it's over now." She wailed louder. "Liam, I was wrong. For Mason's sake, don't leave me." But I turned away, ready to walk out of this house of lies. My bag was already packed. I'd stay with Grandpa for now and come back for Mason later. "Where are you going?" Lena screamed. I didn't answer. But as I reached the door, I stopped dead. Standing on the porch blocking my way were my parents, Thomas and Elise and Cole. Like they'd planned this intervention together. Cole looked pale as death, Dad was scowling, Mom was crying. "Liam, stop right there," Dad roared. "Get back inside. We need to talk." I stared in disbelief. "Why are you all here?" Cole glanced at Lena, voice shaking. "I called Mom and Dad. This is a family matter." I walked back in, curious to see what new trick they had. We gathered in the living room, but the air was so thick it was hard to breathe. No one sat comfortably. Everyone was rigid, like waiting for a verdict. Before I could speak, my parents launched in, voices rapid and accusing. Dad ground his teeth. "Liam, you have to stop this. Don't you dare report Cole." Mom added, trembling but full of blame. "Do you have any idea what will happen to the family's reputation if this gets out? How will your father and I ever face our relatives and friends again?" Dad delivered the final blow. "Don't embarrass us all over some misunderstanding." Not one of them asked what I'd been through. Not one asked how I'd been betrayed. They only cared about saving face. I shook my head, heart aching but voice firm. "Mom, Dad, I'm the victim here. Cole and Lena had an affair behind my back and plotted to send me to prison. I have clear evidence." Before I could say more, their tone shifted from pleading to threats. Dad shot up, face crimson. "If you dare go to the police, we will disown you, do you hear me?" Mom nearly screamed, tears falling but words sharp as knives. "Do you know what that would do to Cole's reputation? What will people think of this family?" Dad pointed straight at me, shaking with fury. "You'll destroy this family, Liam. Just because you can't stand to let your brother be better than you." To them, Cole's reputation mattered more than justice. Or my safety. The youngest son who had never been valued. I looked around the room and understood. No matter what Cole did, they would protect him to the end. Suddenly, Cole changed tactics, acting like he was the injured party. He dropped to his knees in front of me, hands trembling. "Liam, I'm begging you, don't blow this up. It's not that serious. We can settle it as a family. I'll make it up to you, I swear." His eyes were red, voice breaking like I was the one who betrayed him. "We're brothers, man. Have you forgotten how I always looked out for you?" I stared straight at him. No more emotion, only cold truth. "If I hadn't found out in time," I said slowly, each word cutting, "I'd be the one in prison right now. Cole, you never once thought about the consequences of framing your own brother for bankruptcy and money laundering. Now, you'll face the consequences." My voice was steady, ice cold, unshaken. For the first time, I saw real fear in Cole's eyes. Chaos erupted. Mom sobbing loudly, Dad shouting, Cole pleading, Lena wailing. I stood up and walked to the door. "I'm leaving. You all figure it out yourselves." They tried to grab me, but I pushed past and walked out, leaving behind a panicked family who finally realized I was no longer the weak little brother they could bully. I got in the car and drove off into the rain, tears rolling down my face. It hurt. It hurt to lose everything, my wife, my brother, my parents. But it also felt like freedom. The next morning I woke up with iron resolve. I couldn't wait any longer for Cole and Lena to make their next move. They were probably already erasing evidence or worse, planning to silence me. I contacted a lawyer who specialized in financial crimes, James Harlan, recommended by Grandpa, a veteran who had handled major cases in Washington. "Mr. Harlan, this is Liam Bowden," I said calmly on the phone. "I need to meet you urgently. It's about embezzlement and criminal conspiracy." He agreed to see me that same afternoon. I drove to his office downtown, bringing the USB recordings and all my notes. The office was sleek, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Potomac, but the atmosphere was tense. I sat across from him and told him everything. The lottery ticket, Lena and Cole's betrayal, the evidence from accounting, the confrontations. Harlan listened, took notes, and examined the USB. His face grew grave. "This is extremely serious, Liam. Money laundering, embezzlement, conspiracy to frame someone, these are federal crimes." He immediately contacted the authorities, the FBI and the Department of Justice. "I'll represent you," he said. "Stay safe and don't contact any of them." The Financial Crimes Unit and Economic Police moved fast. Within days, they began preliminary verification, checking accounts and company data. I handed over the recording of my confrontation with Cole, his pleading and half-admissions. They found exactly what I had reported: international transfers, fake invoices, shell companies. A freeze order was issued almost instantly. All of Cole's personal accounts were locked, his offshore shell companies too. Even Chief Accountant Harold's accounts were frozen. Investigators seized the entire server, accounting system, and transaction records of Bowden Construction Group. The company offices were sealed, employees were sent home. Cole and Lena were summoned for questioning. I wasn't present, but Harlan kept me updated. They're being interrogated separately. Cole initially denied everything, but faced with emails, transfers, and the recording, he broke. After several days of questioning, both Cole and Lena confessed. The affair, the embezzlement, the plan to pin the debt on me. Lena sobbed, claiming Cole had forced her, but investigators didn't buy it. There were messages between them full of affection and plotting. Harold cooperated fully in exchange for leniency. The trial that followed drew massive attention. The federal courthouse in Seattle was packed. Reporters, business figures, even distant relatives. I sat in the witness section in a simple suit, heart racing. Harlan represented me and presented the evidence: the USB, recordings, testimonies. Cole sat in the defendant's box, gaunt dark circles under his eyes, no longer the polished CEO. Lena beside him kept her head down, crying constantly. Harold testified. Cole directed everything. Faced with overwhelming, irrefutable evidence, the verdict came. Cole Bowden was sentenced to a total of 26 years in federal prison for money laundering, embezzlement, tax fraud, and conspiracy to frame another person. Concurrent sentences, no parole for the first 15 years. The chief accountant received 4 years for cooperating. Lena was fined $75,000 and lost all custody rights. The court granted me full custody due to proven infidelity and complicity. I was declared completely innocent, and Cole was ordered to pay me $2.7 million in restitution for the debt he had tried to saddle me with. The gavel fell. The courtroom fell silent, then erupted in murmurs. Cole was led away. He turned back and said, "Liam." I didn't look at him. I walked out of the courthouse feeling as if I had just escaped a long nightmare. The sun, rare in Seattle, shone warmly. A cool breeze ruffled my hair. Reporters swarmed. "Mr. Bowden, how do you feel?" I shook my head. "I just want peace. No celebration, no parties." I quietly breathed the air of freedom, something I once thought I was about to lose forever. I went back to Grandpa's house. Mason ran out and threw his arms around me. I had won, but my family was shattered. After the trial, Bowden Construction Group was officially declared bankrupt. Its reputation collapsed completely. Investors pulled out en masse, projects were canceled, assets liquidated by court order to compensate contractors, employees, and banks. The Bowden name, once the family's pride, built from nothing by my grandfather, disappeared from the market in a matter of months. The offices closed, the signs taken down. I watched the news on my phone and felt a stab of pain. "Grandpa, I'm sorry." He put a hand on my shoulder. "It's all right, son. A company is just material things. You saved yourself." In the days that followed, the case dominated headlines across Seattle. Business circles talked about it in cafes. Media covered it nonstop. Newspapers, TV, social media. CEO embezzles millions, plots to destroy his own brother. The once respected Bowden family became the center of a public storm. My parents were shunned by the community. Neighbors avoided them. Old friends turned away for blindly defending a criminal and blaming their innocent son. Their once lively house fell silent, filled only with regret. They aged visibly, rarely left home, doors locked. Mom tried calling, but I had turned off my phone. Meanwhile, I chose a simple life. No flashy spending of the lottery money. I used part of it to pay off debts, saved the rest for Mason. I spent my days with him, taking him to school, playing ball in the park, reading bedtime stories. I worked hard at a new job in a small construction firm just as an engineer. No management, no drama. My co-workers were friendly. I cherished every peaceful day. Morning coffee with Grandpa, picking Mason up in the afternoon, reading in the evenings. No more stress, no more suspicion. Life was simple but complete. 1 week after the trial, while everything was still raw in my mind, I filed for divorce. No hesitation, no second thoughts. It was simply the necessary step to close that painful chapter. The court granted it quickly thanks to the clear evidence of Lena's infidelity and complicity that Mr. Harlan had presented. I was awarded full custody of Mason. Our innocent 5-year-old had no idea about the storm that had just passed. Lena was granted only supervised visitation once a month. The marriage ended quietly. No tugging at the past, no final arguments. Once everything was over, I decided to leave the old city behind, the place filled with painful memories where every street reminded me of Bowden Construction Group, Cole's office, and the house full of lies. Using part of the lottery winnings that Grandpa had kept safe, I bought a spacious house in the Seattle suburbs. The place was strangely peaceful, rows of maple trees blazing red in autumn, a huge backyard for Mason to run around in, clean air untainted by the old conspiracies. The first time I drove Grandpa and Mason to see it, the boy shouted, "Dad, the house is huge. There's a yard for playing ball." Grandpa smiled and patted my shoulder. "Perfect, son. This is truly a fresh start." I invited Grandpa Edward to move in with us. He was getting older, still healthy, but living alone in the old house worried me. "Grandpa, come live with me and Mason," I said one afternoon while he was reading the paper on the porch. He laughed. "All right, grandson. I'd love to be closer to Mason, too." The two of us made up for years of lost family closeness. He taught me the family barbecue recipe. I told him about my new job. We raised Mason together. Grandpa told him fairy tales at bedtime. I taught him how to kick a soccer ball and took him fishing. We built a small, peaceful, wonderfully warm family. In the evenings, we sat around the dinner table laughing. "Grandpa, I caught a huge fish today," Mason would brag. Grandpa would grin, "Just like your dad when he was little." I looked at them, one old, one young, and smiled, a genuine smile I couldn't remember giving in years. With my experience from Bowden Construction Group and the lottery money, I started my own small construction company. Nothing grand like before, just a modest office in the Seattle suburbs, a handful of employees specializing in residential builds and renovations. I ran it with honesty, integrity, and professionalism. Qualities I had never seen in Cole. No fake invoices, no embezzlement, every figure crystal clear. "We do business transparently," I told the team at our first meeting. Little by little, the company grew. Satisfied clients referred others, word of good work spread. Once, while renovating a house for a lonely elderly woman, I personally checked everything and gave her a discount because she was struggling. "Thank you, Liam. You're a genuinely kind man," she said, eyes shining. That was real pride, not the fake glory Cole used to flaunt. The company is called Bowden Builds. I kept the family name to honor Grandpa, but everything else is new. I work hard, Morning team meetings, afternoons on job sites, evenings reviewing reports. No stress like before, just the joy of honest labor. Our life flows gently. Work in the mornings, pick Mason up from school in the afternoon, dinner together with Grandpa in the evening. For the first time in years, I truly feel peace. No more lying awake worrying, no more wondering who's stabbing me in the back. On weekends, we walk in the park. Mason runs around, Grandpa sits on a bench telling stories. I take photos of them laughing. "Dad, I want to learn to build houses like you," Mason said once. I smiled. "Sure, buddy, but you have to do well in school first." That peace is like medicine. The wounds from betrayal slowly heal even if the scars remain. One day, about 6 months after the trial, I received a visiting request letter from Cole in prison. It arrived by mail, handwriting shaky. "Liam, I want to see you and apologize." I sat alone in the backyard holding the letter, thinking for a long time. My heart raced. Memories flooded back. Playing ball as kids, then the betrayal, the plot. Only now he apologizes? I wondered. Grandpa advised, "It's your decision, but if you go, be firm." I decided to visit, not to rekindle brotherhood, but to put a final period on the story. I drove to the federal prison through cold iron gates and strict security checks. I sat in the visiting room behind the glass, waiting. Cole appeared on the other side, walking slowly. He was gaunt, shoulders slumped, skin gray from endless sleepless nights. Premature gray hairs stood out on what used to be perfectly groomed hair. When his eyes met mine, they were filled with exhaustion and regret. He sat down, picked up the phone with trembling hands. "Liam, thank you for coming." His voice was hoarse, like something was stuck deep in his throat. Then he spoke. No excuses, no blame, just raw confession. He apologized for betraying me, for sleeping with the wife I had trusted most, for plotting to send me to prison, for the greed, selfishness, and cruelty that nearly cost me my freedom and my life. "I was wrong, Liam. Terribly wrong. I've been jealous of you for years. You were always decent, clean. And I let money blind me." Tears rolled down his cheeks, the first time I ever saw my proud older brother this broken. "I destroyed our family, destroyed the company, and almost destroyed you. Please forgive me, Liam." I looked at him for a long time. Inside me, everything mixed. Anger, disappointment, pity, and a nameless sadness. But hatred, I had let that go long ago. I raised the phone and said slowly, "Cole, I forgave you a long time ago. Not for you, but for myself. Holding on to hate only hurts me. But your sentence, you have to serve it. That's the consequence of what you did." Cole nodded over and over, tears falling. "You're stronger than I ever thought," he said like a weight had lifted. When the visit ended, I hung up the phone and stood. Cole watched me through the glass, eyes full of pain and gratitude. I walked out past the heavy iron gates. The cold Washington wind hit my face, carrying the wide-open breath of freedom. I breathed deeply. It was over. Truly over. No more ties, no more shadows behind me. An old chapter closed, and I left that place lighter than ever. As for my parents, after Cole went to prison, instead of realizing their mistake, they disowned me and blamed me for destroying the family. Dad called once. "Happy now? Cole's in prison because of you." Mom sobbed. "You've ruined everything, Liam. You tore this family apart." I accepted it calmly. They had left my life long ago, I just hadn't noticed. From childhood, they favored Cole and overlooked me. Nothing had changed. I cut contact completely. No calls, no visits, no gifts. "I don't need them anymore," I told Grandpa. He nodded. "You're right. They live isolated in the old house, condemned by public opinion, but I no longer care. I look only forward to a future with Grandpa and Mason, to a real home that truly belongs to me." Looking back on the entire journey, from the moment I won the lottery, to being betrayed, nearly framed and imprisoned, to the day I stood in court as an innocent man, I now understand that sometimes life has to shatter us into 1,000 pieces so we can finally see clearly what is real and what is fake, who truly loves us and who has only been using us. Sitting alone in the backyard of our new home beneath the maple trees whose red leaves drift down in the autumn breeze, I often think about that. It all began with that single scratch-off ticket, its thin silver coating hiding everything. At first it was pure ecstasy. $10 million, enough to change a life. I pictured Lena throwing her arms around me, Mason laughing in a new house, even Cole clapping me on the shoulder with congratulations. But then everything crumbled. Cole and Lena sitting too close on the living room couch, the whispered late-night phone calls, the intimate sounds coming from his office. Life broke me apart. Trust collapsed, love dissolved, family turned their backs. Yet from those very fragments I saw more clearly than ever before. Lena never loved me. She only used me. She chose Cole for money and ambition. Cole was never my brother, he was just a greedy man jealous of the decency he lacked. My parents were never a refuge. They were simply people blinded by reputation. Only Grandpa was real, a steadfast anchor who never needed promises. Life had to shatter me so I could learn one truth. What is false will sooner or later crumble, while what is real will always remain. I realized that my gentleness, diligence, and kindness were never weaknesses. They were strengths that evil people can never possess. That very decency kept me standing when the people I trusted most betrayed me. I've always been that way, yielding, working hard without complaint. At the old company, I stayed up late finishing reports, went out to job sites in the rain to check progress, yet Cole was always the one praised for great leadership. I used to think I was weak. Why didn't I fight back? Why didn't I scream when I was treated unfairly? But now, looking back, that very gentleness saved me. When I overheard Cole and Lena plotting, I didn't burst in swinging. I stayed calm and gathered evidence. When my parents turned away, I didn't beg and cry. I cut ties and moved forward. People like Cole have fake strength, money, power, but it collapses the moment it's exposed. I, with my decency, weathered the storm. I learned that not every group of people deserves to be called family. Some bear the titles of father, mother, brother, sister, yet are ready to turn their backs and push you into the abyss just to protect an illusion called reputation. And then there are people, like my grandfather, who need no vows yet remain a rock-solid support. I learned this through long sleepless nights. The Bowden family used to be a source of pride, my parents bragging about Cole at every gathering while I sat quietly in the corner. But when the truth came out, they chose reputation over justice, disowning me to protect Cole, even though he was the criminal. Blood must protect blood, Dad said. But what kind of protection is it when they're willing to send their youngest son to prison? That wasn't a home, it was a toxic bond. Grandpa? He never needed promises, just listening, advising, and willingly putting the lottery money in his name to keep me safe. On mornings drinking coffee together, we talk about life. He says, "Son, family are the ones who stay when things get hard, not just the ones who gave you life." I nod, warmth filling my heart. And now my home is this little house in the Seattle suburbs where I live with Grandpa and Mason, a place filled with laughter, with no room left for lies or pain. I learned to let go of toxic relationships, to cut ties that only hurt me. Forgiveness isn't about giving the other person peace. It's about freeing yourself so you can move on. That was the greatest lesson of the whole journey. I used to cling, trying to explain to my parents, forgiving Lena for Mason's sake. But then I realized, clinging only deepens the wound. When I finally cut them off, no calls to my parents, seeing Lena only during supervised visits, I felt lighter. When I forgave Cole in prison, I said, "I forgive so that I don't hate." Not for him, for me. Carrying hate only made me suffer, kept me awake, stopped me from smiling genuinely at Mason. One evening, Grandpa asked, "Do you hate them?" I shook my head. "No, Grandpa, I've let it go." He smiled. "Then you've truly grown up." Letting go set me free, no longer worrying about their calls, no longer haunted by the past. I teach Mason, son, if someone hurts you, let them go. Life still has so many good things. Watching Mason grow up in peace, watching Grandpa smile at every dinner, I know this. True happiness doesn't come from money or fame. It comes from daring to choose what is right, daring to stand for justice, and daring to live kindly even when the world is unfair. Watching Mason grow strong and happy in our suburban home, running across the lawn, laughing under the sunset, I finally understand the full meaning of the word happiness. Every evening, seeing Grandpa's gentle smile at the dinner table, his old eyes still shining with quiet pride, I realize that real happiness isn't found in wealth, status, or the praise of others. It comes from daring to stand up when betrayed, daring to defend what is right even if you stand alone, and still choosing kindness even when the world is unjust. Looking at my true little family, Mason and Grandpa, I know that every pain I endured led me here, to a life of peace, integrity, and the person I always wanted to be. The greatest lesson I learned is this: never lose yourself just to keep a relationship, a reputation, or a family that was never truly yours. I learned it the hard way, through fire and trial. I once lost myself, yielding to Cole to preserve brotherhood, enduring Lena to preserve marriage, staying silent before my parents to preserve family. But when I finally stood up and fought back, I found myself again, the decent, strong man I am. Don't lose yourself, I tell my reflection every morning. Keeping toxic relationships only brings suffering. Fake reputations crumble. False families should be released. Now I live for myself, an honest company, a warm little family. And the advice I always want to pass on to anyone lost in pain: always stand on the side of truth. Believe in yourself. Some losses exist only to clear the path for a better life. I think these words often while watching Mason sleep. If anyone ever reads my story, remember this: stand for the truth even when it hurts. Like I reported them to the police though I lost everything. Believe in yourself, like I gathered evidence alone. Loss is a doorway. I lost the old family and gained a new one. A better life is waiting ahead.